I want you to imagine a story with me. A story that's older than any kingdom, older than any empire, older even than the first words ever written down. We're going to dive into the legend of an ancient, sacred game, a trial of insight that's been whispered about for millennia, known only as 𐤀𐤋𐤌𤔀𤍪.
You see, at the very heart of this whole legend is a really profound truth. This isn't just about a game, it's about a key, a way of seeing that the lines we think separate us, our cultures, our histories, they aren't really walls. They're bridges, just waiting for someone to walk across them.
So the legend goes like this. Once upon a time, there was only one language, a single word that kind of held the entire world together. But then, in a single moment, that word fractured. It just shattered into countless little echoes, scattering all across the globe. And those echoes became the thousands of different languages we speak today. Each one is a tiny fragment of that original whole, but they all seem like their own separate worlds.
And you know, this ancient myth, it actually connects to a feeling that's super real for a lot of us. For centuries, and especially for the game's inventor, a guy named Emil, trying to learn a new language just felt like this frustrating slog, right? Just memorizing endless lists of words that don't seem connected, a puzzle with no rhyme or reason, and he just knew there had to be a smarter way.
And that brings us to right now, to you, because every once in a while, someone stumbles onto the path. Someone who's looking for that deeper connection. And in our story today, you are that person. You are the seeker. And you've just discovered a truth that's been hidden for ages.
So, what is this ancient game really? Well, at its core, 𝐤𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 is a pattern-hunting puzzle. You get these words from a mysterious language, and your job is to figure out what they mean by finding hidden family ties, cognates, sound shifts, shared roots, to a language you already speak. It's your anchor. You're not just guessing here, you are literally cracking a code. And with that realization, your calling becomes crystal clear. You're not just a learner anymore, you're a seeker. And the guardians of this ancient game, this order called the Keepers of the Lexicon, well, they've just opened their doors to you. Your trials are about to begin.
Now, how does a trial actually work? It's pretty cool. It's treated like a sacred ritual in 3 parts. First up is the prime round. This is where the keepers give you these glowing cipher keys. They're like anchor words that start to reveal the hidden patterns. Then, you have to face the challenge word. This is the real test of your insight. And finally, you get feedback, where you learn from the echoes of the choices you made.
So you get the rules of the trial. Now you're ready for the next stage of the journey. You're about to travel through these incredible, unseen lands, not places of dirt and rock, but of memory and meaning, where the echoes of ancient words are just waiting to be heard again.
Your first journey takes you to a place called the Land of Maps. And here, the keepers teach you something amazing, that the oldest words we still use today aren't in any dictionary. Nope, they're fossils, embedded right into the names of our towns, rivers, and mountains. A name isn't just a name, it's a story preserved for 1,000 years.
Then a riddle comes to you, echoing from a crossroads steeped in history, Oxford. The name sounds so familiar, right? But its real story is a fossil, just waiting to be uncovered. The keepers don't ask you what it is, they ask what it was. What story is this name trying to tell you? And this is where the magic happens. You break the word apart, and suddenly you see this ancient image, a shallow part of a river, a ford, that was used by Oxenford. It's just a simple, practical story about everyday life, but its meaning is perfectly preserved in a name we all know. You've just learned how to read a word fossil. Okay, so your journey keeps going. Now it leads you to the Whispering Waters. The keepers explain that water remembers. Rivers often carry their names for thousands of years, long after the empires built on their banks have crumbled into dust. And here, you face a totally new kind of puzzle. You start noticing the name Avon popping up again and again, naming rivers in completely different parts of the world. So the question from the keepers is simple. If a name echoes like that, if it repeats itself, what does that tell you about its meaning?
And the answer is just stunning. The echo is the meaning. Avon is just an ancient Celtic word for river. So when people say the river Avon, they're actually saying the river, without even knowing it. And in that moment, you've learned to hear the water literally speak its own name. A deep connection has just been forged.
You've read the land, you've heard the water, You have absolutely proven your skill. But now comes the final and most dangerous trial. The trial of the silent word, a word that seems to whisper one thing, but is secretly holding a completely different truth.
This trial is all about testing your insight against your intuition. You're facing what's called a false friend. So in English, eventually means in the end, right? But its French ancestor, éventuellement, means possibly, or if the situation works out. They look almost identical, but their hearts are totally different. This word is a trap, and it's designed to see if you're really listening or if you're just assuming.
And get this, how do the keepers even judge your answer? Look at this. The correct meaning, it's only worth half a point. But your reasoning, the logic, the patterns you spotted, the connections you made, that's worth 3 times as much. They don't just care about the destination. They value the story of how you got there. The journey itself is the real prize.
So you present your reasoning. You explain the subtle shift in meaning, how a word about possibility could slowly become a word for in the end. And as you speak, you feel it. The final lock turns. This is the climax of your entire journey, the great unbinding. And then the epiphany hits you. It was never just about one word. You suddenly see it all so clearly. The world's languages, they aren't fractured, separate islands at all. They're all connected. They're just different branches, all growing from the same ancient trunk, twisting toward the light in their own way, but they're all part of one single magnificent tree. You finally understand the path you've been walking this whole time. You started as a guesser, just relying on sparks of intuition. Then you grew into a pattern seeker, and then a connector who could see the whole system. You became a finder who didn't just know the answer, but understood why it was true. And now, at the final level, you see language as a living, breathing thing. You're ready to become a creator, a keeper of the lexicon yourself. And so we come all the way back to where we started. But this sentence, it's not just a hopeful idea anymore, is it? For you, the seeker, it is now a fundamental truth that you've experienced with your own eyes. You have walked across those bridges, and you have seen where they lead. Because here's the secret. The legend of 𝐤�𐤋𐤌𤔀𤐀🐀 doesn't really have an end. It's not just a game. It's a living bridge, passed down from one mind to the next. It is a timeless cycle of discovery, always there, just waiting for the next seeker to begin their journey. And the only question left is, will it be you?